So in 2023, we have a lot of applications that are made for the visually impaired. And most of these are actually made by people who are visually impaired as well. So it's a really thriving ecosystem. You have apps on iOS, Android, Windows, and basically every single platform. And I was actually asked to review one of these apps. Someone came up to me and asked me to go through their app, spend a little time with it, and make a video on it. Now, the video and my thoughts on this are actually quite raw because after spending 18 days, I've realized two things. One, that it's actually a really safe app to download and there's nothing wrong with it. But also two, how it's the epitome of the notion that people are just making products for the sake of saying that they made something for the visually impaired. And it's kind of sad to see. So let's see exactly what I'm talking about. So the app in question, as I said, is called BTC Tools. It's made by a team called Blind Tech Community, and it's a bunch of smaller Indian YouTubers who are visually impaired that have come together to make this. Pretty nice. I mean, especially the fact that they're a small team, it's kind of like they're underdogs. And it says that it's gonna be your one-stop shop for all tools, and there's some specific text in the description. I'll put that in the video description, or you can check it out in the link, which I will actually put in the description. Now, it has a few tools that they have talked about, and they mention that they want to be the one app that any visually impaired or blind person needs to use for access to some of these tools. So this is the homepage of the app. This is where you first land on. It's quite cool. I mean, it's simple. It's got an affirmation. It greets you. There's options for sharing and rating with some questionable grammar.
Wow!
But we'll let that slide. Then you go to Tools, and Tools is the second tab on the bottom out of 4, and there's some cool options here. It's like 9 tools long. There's some options for unit converters, age calculators. There's an option to generate a WhatsApp chat link, which is actually really useful, especially in countries like India, where WhatsApp is quite prevalent. And then there's an option for test speakers. Now this is actually really cool because what this does is actually doesn't test your speakers, but clears out debris and water from your speakers. And there are other options as well that you can go through. Then we get to the features tab. Why they call it features, I am not too sure, but again, let's let that slide. So in features, you've got two options. You've got a job finder, and then you've got an option for news. And finally, you go to media, where you've got stories and poems. Considering that there are 4 tabs across the bottom, not the widest spread, but that's alright. And in terms of what it offers, it works fine. There are no bugs, nothing really is weird or doesn't work out that well. Everything is stable, at least to the bare minimum.
Wow!
So what's my gripe here? Why am I not really happy with this app? Well, there are a few reasons. First of all, it claims to be an accessible app. Right? It claims to be something that is made for the visually impaired. And I mean, that's cool, but they missed out on one of the biggest factors of mobile accessibility. That is, when you're releasing something, especially on Android, you do not use a web view. If you're an Android user, you know what I'm talking about. You may have heard TalkBack say web view, and then suddenly it's just not that accessible because web views and web navigation on Android is not great. And there's a lot of factors that make this accessibility experience worse. The web view means that I can't really explore by touch, so I can't really just go to the bottom of the screen and use the tab bar, for example. And if I accidentally swipe too much, I have to go all the way back. So I'm restricted to flicking across the screen. The web view also means that the entire thing is just laggy. It's not an experience that I would really want to use. The second is the fact that they're marketing this as tools for the visually impaired. Now I love that, except none of these tools really help me as a visually impaired person. I mean, these are tools that you could use anyway, even if you're sighted. But for something that's marketed as tools for the visually impaired, I kind of expected extra tools that would be useful for someone who's visually impaired. Let me give you an example. There's an app called Tech Freedom that's considered to be the benchmark of tools or multi-purpose everything apps for the visually impaired. It's really stable. The first thing that it does is it does away from the web view, and all it has is just native navigation. Really accessible, really fluid. The second thing that it has is actually tools that are designed for the visually impaired. Things like a cache reader, image reader, PDF reader, Voicify TTS is actually really cool. It's a multilingual TTS on Android. It's really, really useful. On top of that, it's actually smaller. So BTC Tools happens to be a much bigger app. It's 58 megabytes. And the funny thing is, every single tool in this app is not actually designed from the ground up. These are tools that are available on websites. So you see where I'm getting at, right? With this app is not something that's designed with the core purpose of helping. And I don't mean to say that they have bad intentions. What I do mean to say is that it's cobbled together just because I guess some people may have wanted to show that they made something. Again, that's not a very bad thing. It obviously can get improvements in the future. But right now, as it stands, I don't see any purpose of downloading it. Now, it's not like you're really losing out on much because you're not paying for the app, and the good thing is that there are not many ads in the app, but what you're losing out is storage space, you're losing out on time, and you're really not getting any utility out of this app. So, personally, I wouldn't really recommend you download it. There are better apps. As I said, Tech Freedom is one, or you can just use any website if you really want to go down that route. I'll link a few alternatives or equivalents to these tools in the description. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. This was not really required, I guess. I could have just gone without making the video, but I thought it was important to make this video to really get my thoughts out there and to let you know exactly what's up with this app. If you really found it helpful, hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And share this video around with your friends so they know as well. With that, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.